Hey, off topic, did you build your own computer?
Me, no.
I steer clear from like the shorter time frames just because my my computer is so old at this point. And
Yeah.
like some of like on like days like today, for some reason, like when I pull up the queues or any of the indexes, it'll freeze my platform. So I think I'm gonna order a computer off of tradingcomputers.com
I,
tomorrow.
I just find in general, thinkorswim, anytime there's any volatility
Yeah,
or big moves, it literally just stops working. So it hasn't mattered what computer I use.
right on.
But I hear you. I bought a few years ago, I bought an LG Gram because I was traveling through
Sure.
Europe at the time for like a month or two. So I was like, I just needed something light and easy.
Yeah, I had this guy.
Market closed.
Yep, let's get started.
Well, we're already fired up on the YouTubes. Guys, it's great to be back together once again with the two of you. We had a little bit of life happening to us all on Sunday and throughout the week. So hey, we've got Apple reporting in a few minutes. We've got Amazon reporting in a few minutes. What better time to do a live TA report than on this beautiful Thursday, April 28th of 2022?
Right now.
Right now. Market closed. So
Yeah,
I mean, look, we've got
Apple doesn't report till 4:30, so we're gonna have to babble on for a half an hour.
Well, we would do that anyway. But look, I mean, we've got SPY up 2.5%. We got the Qs up 3.5%. Apple up 4.5%. Amazon up 4.5%. Microsoft continues its winning streak, 2.25% today. Semis actually had a really nice day.
It's like Amazon's dumping.
Oh, yay. Hooray. Amazon's dumping. Already down 5%, 6%, 2,700. Boo. Wow. Oh, they're taking it down, down, down. Red Knight's going down. What's up, Freddie? Thanks for joining.
Oh.
10%. Here we go. 10%.
Do we get 2,500?
That's going to leave a mark. There's 20.
The question is, do they even report earnings? Or is this just the nonsense after hours?
Well, we all know the nonsense after hours does happen.
I have the 4-year.
So they beat on the earnings.
Well, Google took a big dump too the other day. Well, not as big as this, but shit happens.
Where's MBG? Is he coming in here to chirp on Amazon?
Who knows? Actually, I
don't see him on.
Is it trying to come back? I don't know.
It is trying to come back, but it's Amazon, right? So
yeah.
It's too easy to game Amazon because there's just not enough shares. And after 22 years, they finally, after they've already matured their entire move, like Google decides to split, which allows them liquidity to get out internally and distribute to everyone who's been looking to buy Amazon for cheap.
Well, looks like they're getting an opportunity to do so.
Yeah, it's just.
And I'm living up to my namesake of holding Amazon bags. Amazon doesn't have any bags though; they have boxes. So maybe I should change my name to holding boxes.
Hood is getting destroyed. Awesome.
Hood is.
Roku flattish. Apple is down just because of Amazon, but they haven't even reported, I would imagine.
Well, I'm done for the day now. Amazon's down 11%. So good night. Have a great day. It was great to be back with you for the first 5 minutes of this TA report. I'll let Nick and GP handle it from here.
Yeah, I give up. I'm going home.
I mean, you know where I kind of stand. I got pinched out of my trades on spring break. I got too heavy and raised stops while I was gone, and unfortunately got stopped out of a lot. So I'm definitely antsy. Like I want some action, which has me leaning into hopping back onto the shorter time frames again, which I haven't day traded in a long time, but you got to expect a bounce here for sure. McClellan hit negative 200 yesterday. Obviously, we saw that bounce today. I guess we'll see what happens with Amazon and Apple here, but it's like the Amazon weekly chart I like. The Amazon daily chart I don't like at all. On Apple, I like both the weekly and the monthly, just kind of hanging around the 200 day, but I guess we'll kind of see what happens here. I'm interested to see how, GP, we were talking before. I'm interested to see how energy and commodities move the rest of the year.
Yeah.
A lot of-
Amazon reported a loss
What's that?
based on the Rivian investment.
Pardon me?
Looks like.
Amazon
Yes,
reported
756 loss per share. That's getting crushed. It'll come back. That's a one-time loss. At least
I
think
miss
so.
the days of 3,400.
There goes Roku. Oh no, it's recovering now. This market.
Well, and these after hours moves too, like they get ridiculous sometimes.
The Netflix one was literally, I think, 1 to 1.5 seconds after 4 p.m. and it dropped 100 points.
How is Netflix doing?
Not great.
Not great.
What do you think of Tesla?
We talked about this Netflix. We'll talk about Tesla in a second. We talked about this second move in Netflix, right? Back in January, before earnings. So we're approaching that 75-80% move in Netflix. I'd be surprised, this is just me, that people aren't legging in back to Netflix here.
Yeah.
Maybe it goes to zero and it's bankrupt for being too woke or whatever the commentary is right now, but it generated $802 million in free cash flow last quarter, right? Just last quarter. They're self-funded. It's a reasonable valuation in my opinion. And so far in 20 years, Reed has done shareholders right long-term versus short-term action.
When does actually, lack of subscriber growth really matter?
But they didn't even have a lack, right? They lost 200,000 and 700,000 was Russia, right? Them shutting down Russia. So technically it was 500,000 gain, but ultimately it's a slowing business model, right? And
yes. Well, that's the point that I'm making. The Asian market has been good overall for Netflix for the previous few quarters, but everywhere else it's oversaturation, right? And at what point does that matter? And we might be at that point to where it matters finally. It didn't matter back in June or July when they first reported it, and that's when I bailed. I mean, obviously it went to all-time highs shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
But at some point it's gonna have to matter, right? Like I think around here is where
to a point, but it's an $87 billion market cap. They generate $30 billion in cash a year, and their free cash flow positive, self-sustaining model. I know they're in the mature cycle, but you know what I was listening for? I was listening for Reed Hastings to potentially step down, because then I think you definitely can get out permanently, right? Because he's now given up on the model too, but he's still there. Tells me that he's going to right the ship in whatever, I don't know, right? If I knew, then obviously I would be putting my entire net worth into him resolving it. I don't know what it is, but my thought process is that he's still there. He's still there to fight to live another day. He doesn't have to. He's a billionaire. He could literally look. Bezos walked away at the top, just like Gates did back in 2000.
Yeah. Let's talk about Tesla for a minute then.
Sure.
Nick, you brought up Tesla. What's going on with Tesla? I mean, I think, I have to admit, I haven't been paying attention to the market as much as the two of you have, but I still try to keep my finger to the pulse. I think a lot of this is just, Elon basically, and people afraid of, is Elon going to focus on Twitter? Is Elon, writing off the stock to make this Twitter purchase happen? I think it's an unknown for investors more than it is an underlying problem at Tesla. But again, I haven't been paying attention for the past 3 to 4 weeks as much as you two guys have.
So this is hard for me, right? Because I'm a really long-term bull, have been for many years, and have seen a lot of these waves up and down and calls for Elon being crazy and selling, being too spread thin, and every comment is the end of his legacy.
Yep.
Type action. So it's hard for me to say any of that stuff. Like, the market will do what the market will do.
I'm not saying he's crazy. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, what does this entity mean?
I don't think it means anything. I think he's a guy who's in action. I know you're going to call, not you guys, but people refer to me as a fanboy. I'm not. He does a lot of stupid, crazy things that he doesn't need the stress for. But
I am a fanboy. I'll admit.
Yeah. So, but I like disruptors, right? I like people who will challenge all the crap that we've continued to have to deal with across the board. So and that comes with a bit of an ego or personality or whatever. But what you can't deny, and there will be deniers, of course, is that he's a man of action. He has forever been a man of action. He's a guy who will sleep on the floors to get stuff done if he believes in the mission, right? Yeah. So to me, listen, back in 2019, when Tesla went from 380 before split to 178, that was I believe it was Fidelity, FMR Capital. They were liquidating their entire position. That's what caused that movement. So regardless, and that was because of the funding secured fraud case. Everyone's like, he's going to have to step down. And here we are, 3 years later, he's still running, and they're back in fully, right? So to me, all that noise doesn't really determine share price conversations for me. Right?
Yeah, I'm just saying it's confusion in some or stress or worry in some of the investor base. I'm not saying that I necessarily think that should be a distraction. I think that is sort of the way it is with him and the way people view him. So I'm not making a judgment whether I think it's wrong or right, or it's a distraction or not a distraction. I'm just saying I think that is how it's perceived by many.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it is a distraction. Think about if he wasn't spending all this time doing this stuff, how much more he would accomplish, right? So, but I think I don't know, man. He's definitely, there's a lot of people who hate on him, and that's okay. It's what it is. But I think price action here, though, if that's Nick, if that's what you're asking.
No, I was just curious your take on, him on Tesla, Twitter, the whole kind of just situation, I think.
I think he's done a great job of keeping them sort of independent, right? He's still running and succeeding in SpaceX. He's still running and succeeding on the Boring Company, his Starlink company. He's still doing all of these things while he's still running Tesla, and that's why a lot of his promises, like, oh, it'll be ready in 2 weeks, usually means 2 months, right? Like, so, like, as long as you're getting the job done, I don't really care if it's 2 weeks or 3 months.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So that that if you're trying to push for people, like, it's a broad-based change to get people to go from gas power to electric power, right? And if it wasn't for them, none of these other legacy car owner companies would even be bothering.
I want to own everything that he's involved in, you know. So
you're
just,
like a good fanboy.
yeah, I'm like I mean, I would vote for him as president if he ran. I mean, obviously he
Wow.
can't, I don't think, because he wasn't born here or whatever the rule is,
Yeah.
but like obviously I don't know him, but I definitely follow him on Twitter and I enjoy his take on things. Like even his comment on Twitter, he was like, if you want Twitter to be the town hall, you're gonna piss off the left, the extremes on the left and the right.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. Yeah, I would definitely put myself in the fanboy category though, for sure. I'm not stupid though. Like I'm gonna let the charts tell me when to enter and exit. I'm not gonna just throw money at the wall. But I was hoping Tesla's back in that range, or under that kind of that 900 high. So I was kind of thinking we'd at least get another crack in the lower mid 600s. Or if the market really shits the bed, obviously maybe we get a little bit lower fives, but I don't know. I guess we'll kind of just I feel like it's gonna be a bumpy summer.
You mean like not bumpy the last 5 months?
Like, yeah, but I don't know. There's just, I wouldn't be like, let me pull up my spies here.
Like when you're talking about that, the price action in Tesla is choppy, right? It's within a range. What was a concern for me was the volume that we saw the other day on a straight down move, but the whole market was taking it down.
And if
Yeah.
if either of you want to share your screens, you're more than welcome to do so.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
No, you have it up. That's fine, right? Like, but you have, and this morning's just someone said, I'm out. I'm selling whatever I have, and it was a straight move down. It cut right through the previous day's low, massive volume, and if you look at the daily, it literally closed in the same exact range as the last 3 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in a choppy market. We're not going to V-shape out of this market, right? Like to me, it's the conversations I have is like why I'm bullish or bearish. I'm just not bearish at the bottom of a range, right?
Sure.
And we break the bottom of the range, then yeah. But we tried how many times this week to break the range?
Yeah.
What was it? Let me even.
1, 2, 3 of the 3 days already. What day is it anyway? Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Every day we've tested the low end of the range.
Yeah, and like even intraday we tested a bunch of time. Even today we sold off the entire gap up, and where do we hold?
Yeah, I'm wondering how many people are gonna
31752, 7 cents above the March pivot low, right? Like, I'm not like I said, I don't think we V-shaped out on a lot of stocks. Indices might, as we were talking about, Nick, before we started the call, is that the rotation has been really, really strong. That even if these companies die underneath, like Amazon's dying right now, or if Apple dies or something like that, the rotation has been so strong that they keep somehow holding that March pivot low. It also coincides with the opening print for 2021. Like there's a lot of different support areas there. So it's hard to be bearish when we're approaching that range and we're not accelerating.
Yeah.
Maybe technical analysis has changed in the last 6 months, but normally when you break that kind of pivot low, you die, right? Like you don't.
Yeah.
The volume accelerates. You literally have a move that accelerates to the downside.
I often hear, you have these high volume highs and lows, and those high. It seems like those points like to get tested, and that that March low, we've, like you kind of been hammering down, we keep coming into it, and yeah, the volume, I don't know, we're holding. Something to be said about that, I think. But
yeah, and my general theory is I'm not looking for, if we break this, it's a possibility that we go down and test the prior year lows, right? 297.45 on the Q. I was talking about this on StockTwits yesterday, but looking back at history, when you break prior year lows, and we like, if you don't immediately recover off that, like within a day or two,
yeah,
or like a weekly candle or something like that, you're most likely gonna just continue accelerating. So I was sharing like the Facebook chart and the Netflix chart. When it broke prior lows, that was it.
yeah.
There was not much to it.
I'm going to take the devil's advocate opposite side of this position. I worry about this right here. I mean, of course it's overcome the 200 again, but yesterday it failed the 200. Today it couldn't get above the 200 on increasing volume. The RSI is still trending lower. So
Rising 200.
For how long?
It's been going for at least 6 months now, 7 months, 2 years.
Yeah, but we finally breached below with 2 straight failures in consecutive days to be able to regain it. So again, I'm long Tesla. I want Tesla to, take us back to where we were, plus $1,000. But at the same time, like there's nothing right now still. And I posted a bunch of charts yesterday that don't look anything but bearish to me. And maybe I don't have a great understanding of technical analysis, but there's nothing in the price action and any of the indicators that lead me to believe today was anything but a bull trap. Shocking, I know, to hear me say that, but I just don't see it.
Okay.
Not just in Tesla, but across the board. I mean, I'm happy to be wrong. You guys know I'm net long. I don't put on short positions. So it's just there's nothing that really gives me a lot of confidence. Every time we test these major points of support or resistance and they don't break, they tend to go the other way. You guys were talking earlier just about, how breakouts aren't playing out. Well, breakdowns are. And until something fundamentally changes, it's hard for me to be excited about putting more money to work, even though, I mean, for God's sake, Amazon's down still.
Nope. It's recovering
7% right now, but still, like, you told me 6 months ago I could have had a shot at Amazon below 2,600. I'd been like, give me some of that, but I'm not ready to do that.
Yeah, and it just bounced 140 points, so at least that's good. I did like the gaming in the markets is just kind of nuts, right? Like the release of headlines, even just yesterday, you saw the Facebook headline that came out.
Yep.
Right. They're scaring people into an earnings. They'll claim it was error or whatever, but that stuff, dude, really? Like, and then you have the Beyond News that came out. Those back-to-back things, they're like, it's a low liquidity environment. Any kind of movement can be gamed into this pricing. So
well, yeah, I mean, Amazon, right? It bounced 100 whatever points, but it was down 350 points, right? So like, I'm not saying Amazon should be down 10% after hours, but at the same time, I'm not ready to be like, oh shit, this is the moment.
Yeah, I'm looking at the SPY monthly right now, and I like plotting the 4-year or the 48-month, whatever, on my monthly. And I'm still a believer in, using that kind of 50% number. I know, GP, I know you think that, or you're in the camp that if we roll over, we go way lower. That
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me, but I think, in my opinion, if we go lower, I still think we end up holding that kind of 380 area, 380, if somewhere between, like, let's just say 350 and 380. And the only reason I say that is if you look at the SPY monthly, it kind of looks like a little bit of a sloppy Head and Shoulders. Not great, but the measured move on a Head and Shoulders is from the head down to the neckline. And if you extend that line down, that puts us basically at 360-ish, which would be kind of right in line with that 4-year moving average, and also in alignment with basically the 0.618 or the 50% retracement. Again, the way that I'm drawing my fibs is I'm looking at the 290, 295 breakout, not the high pre-COVID, not that 337. So I'm measuring from 292 to basically 480. That's kind of, and again, I'm a long-term bull too. I just have this kind of sneaking suspicion that it's going to be a choppy, who knows what kind of next summer or the summer it's going to be.
Anyways, we've had some massive gains, right? So we have to consolidate. So I'm in the camp that it's consolidation and not a further breakdown here.
It is, and it absolutely is until right. It absolutely is until those lows get taken out and we start to continue.
And so that's, to me, right? Like, so that's what I was net trader, was it? Net zero trader. That's what I was trying to point out, is like the 200-week EMEA that everyone's talking about, that we could potentially tag on these types of moves we have in the past, right? Has generally, not generally, I think most of the time, has always been above the prior year's high.
Oh, sure.
Right. So if we tag the 200 EMEA right now in the next couple of weeks or month or so, it's going to be one of the few times where we tag the 200 weekly moving average under the prior year's pivot.
Sure.
Which to me, this is my theory, and this is what I think, is that if you're going to break prior year's pivot, and we haven't done that in many years, I think 2008 was one of them. Right, there's not a lot of examples. Like, even if you go back to like the NASDAQ composite or something like that, there's not a ton of examples where we break prior year's lows. And the NASDAQ composite 212 literally tested the prior year's low, but like I think missed by like 40 points. But even in 2000, in our .com crisis, we didn't break prior year lows. .com crisis was the most inflated bubble in the history of the recent markets, and we didn't break prior year lows. To me, that's really significant.
On your platform or your broker, can you pull up like quarterly and yearly candlestick charts? I gotta talk to TradeStation.
So I can share that if you want to see it, right, in terms of how it looks, but that's pretty like significant. Like if you're following the strat, right, they talk about pivots, right, 2 up, 2 down, etc., and the moves that come from it. So if you're following that strategy, a yearly pivot break or any pivot break is pretty bad news.
Yeah,
it comes back to test the pivot break. So like, let's say it tags 275, comes back to test the prior year pivot break, and then breaks down again.
See that.
And so like I'm not using moving averages. I don't think moving averages are very helpful when you're in sideways for a year and a half.
No,
you're literally going to test.
They're moot. I agree with you there.
Yeah, they're literally they're all in the same space. You could test the 10-day and the 50-day in the same like 3-minute candle.
Yeah. I'm with you. When the stock's in a range, the moving averages are whatever. I agree.
Yeah, so then you're looking to weekly moving averages or weekly whatever. So that's kind of where I'm pivoting. And like I was telling you earlier, I'm not buying like upside calls. I don't think it's the V shape here, but I'm handling it via cheap put credit spreads, right? That's the way I'm doing a lot of this, and then I'll try some small ones here and there because it's death by like 1,000 paper cuts. But you shouldn't. Oh wow, Amazon back to 2,700. Okay,
Wow. Yeah.
right back to the prior low.
It's still 6.5% down.
Right? Why you got to be all real, man?
Well, I'm just saying, like you're slapping us on the back, like congratulations, Amazon covered a third of its fall off. Like, I mean, I kind of like when we have a little disagreement, GP, but at the same time, like I gotta be a realist here. Like the price action is my number one rule, and right now, price action is not telling me that there is anything leading to any type of upside surprise. And I don't like saying that because I'm not, I'm an optimist at heart. And it's, it's hard to say, well, I think this is going to shit.
Yeah. And there goes Apple. Apple just took off.
Nice.
There it goes.
Apple off, Roku off. So like Bags, I hear you, but if you're in the markets, right? Like it's okay to be scared. You don't have to be involved. Not you personally. It's okay not to be involved. If you've been shaken out, you've been beaten up, dude, definitely stay to the side. That's what you should be doing. But for me, when it comes to these moments, I'm looking for opportunities where I can be long things. Like it might not. So even in March 2020, when the markets were absolutely getting crushed day after day, even when we bounced, we would get days where we would completely wipe out prior gains, and it'd be so frustrating. I still remember that end of March MOC. It was like $8.4 billion, and we lost like 5% in the last 15 minutes of the market, right? Like it was nuts in terms of what was going on. But if you're not going to be, and that's fine if you think it's going lower and you want to wait till there, that's your choice. But at some point in time, you got to start putting some money to work. And I personally think that's the time, but I'm also in entries where
but I also look at it, right, GP, of like I've already put money to work at this level, right? So I'm not seeing a move. I put money to work through here, right? Yeah. So I'm basically here. So why do I want to chase that when there could become a low, right? Or there could become a high. Like I've already put money to work right here. So I don't see as doubling down right here when I've already put money to work in this area, basically.
Yeah, totally fair. That I get, right? I'm not. That's not an argument.
No, I understand, GP. Like we're cool. We're brothers. It's all fine. We do things differently, right? You're a trader at heart. I'm an investor at heart. And for me to be able to say, I want to go long something or be long something, like there's just not those opportunities since I already put money to work over here that look like they're that appealing to me. Now I would love nothing more for this to reverse higher, right? And buy a breakout. I would love that opportunity to do that. But right now, my bias and the bias I see from price action is we still have a lot of work to do. We are still fighting a downtrend. We don't have any signs to me that this is the buyable bottom yet. And I could be wrong. And I could have just been 2 months early buying, right? Which is okay. I've had dead money in these positions because of that. But at the same time, for me, it's not a place where I feel good about saying, all right, I'm going to double my stake in Amazon today, or all right, I'm going to double my stake in NVIDIA today. It's just hard for me to have the justification to do that when I've already been buying the level.
Yeah. What do you think about all the ARK funds retesting basically the breakouts.
Well, that's
Kind
what
of
I
hate
feel
what they're
about
doing,
Kathy.
but
Yeah, I'm curious. I see a lot of people, yapping about her, but I don't follow her. Like, I don't get her emails and follow all of her. Like, oh, she bought T-Doc again or whatever. I have no idea, no clue what she's doing.
I have no clue what she's doing. I don't know why she was buying T-Doc before earnings. I feel like she's potentially a good investor, but a terrible trader.
We've all made the mistake of using good money to chase bad investments, and I think we've seen her for practically the last 52 weeks of selling her winners and doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on losers.
Is that what she's been doing?
Well,
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
she's been doing, and it's great that she nailed Tesla, right? Like, congratulations, Kathy. But you can't have Teladoc as one of your largest positions in your fund and just all of a sudden be like, oh, I'm good, I'm going to buy it before earnings, when you're already down on TDoc. Like, that's just terrible. You guys know that I like Kathy. I've put money to work with Kathy in the past, but at the same time, for the last year, it's like, what the fuck is she doing? No disrespect, because I respect her a lot, but I can't tell you what she's doing.
I couldn't tell you that either, but what I will tell you is she's personified, but there are worse men. Like, Jim Chanos has been maximum short Tesla for nearly a decade, but that guy still somehow manages money and still gets time on CNBC and still gets all this stuff.
I mean,
So,
look at this,
like,
though.
she's
Like, here's the COVID V, right? Like, we are inside of that now. That's what ARK
but
is.
dude, that's literally everything, not just ARK. Take a look at like 95% of the stocks out there that are not energy or the mega caps, right? Like, look at bring up Netflix. She doesn't own any Netflix.
I kind of want to buy some ARKX though at some point, just for some, Mars and Galaxy exposure.
Just buy some John Deere.
Yeah.
Same, right? It's right back into that V.
Yeah.
Oh, Netflix is below the V.
Yeah. I mean, stock prices do what they do, right?
Here's Netflix. It's below.
But it's so the thing about Kathy is I have no clue what she's doing right now. It's just piss poor management at this point. But she's not only had Tesla. I know that's one of her greatest winners, but she's also crushed it on Roku, Square, PACB. She's crushed it on a lot of different names. So I wouldn't just focus on one. But yeah, who buys the first day of a 30% beatdown in earnings? It's like, I think even if I pulled someone off the street, would be like, oh, Netflix is down 30%. Should I buy here? No, I'm just going to wait to see how it is, would be the normal reaction.
Well,
so I don't even know why she's buying. But
from a technical perspective, right? Like, it holds here or it's going here. Like, it's just, that's what you're looking at, in my opinion, if you're an ARK investor.
Yeah, the full breakout at 33 is probably what's going to happen, is what I would imagine, right? That's the COVID lows.
Yeah. Yeah, the COVID low was $33.
Yeah.
What's Apple doing?
So do you have any questions?
Apple up 2%. Randy's here with us. What's up, Randy? We've got 7 people watching now.
7, wow.
7, I know. It's a barn. I figured today would be great with all the earnings going on. Apparently not.
No, man, a lot of people are completely disinterested in the markets these days.
Me included.
Yeah. I get that.
They've worn a lot of people out.
Yeah. Like, I get it, man. Like, why would you be interested in a market that's not going anywhere? Does that apple look like an inverse head and shoulders there?
Does Apple? Yeah, kind of.
On the daily weekly.
All right. So here's our homework. Our good friend Maxwell put a challenge. Maxwell House put us to a challenge a couple weeks ago when we were talking about inverse head and shoulders. He wanted us to give concrete examples of inverse head and shoulders playing out.
The cues.
That'd be great.
The cues played out. I think last year.
Oh yeah, I see that. You're talking about yeah. You're talking about like July through November 2020?
July through November 2020. Hold on, I'm looking. I was thinking more like 2021, the February, March one. February, March, April.
This right here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was looking at that.
Right. So like it broke out, retested, and then took off, right? That's as clean as you can get.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. There's quite a few more examples in terms of where that's played out.
So I would look at it more like that, but you could talk me into that.
Yeah. Take a look at Amazon in in the COVID lows. That's a pretty good.
I don't want to look at this piece of shit anymore. It's back down to 10%.
But that's a pretty, like the COVID lows, that's a pretty solid inverse head and shoulders, right? Like that, you see the bottom there came back up.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say it's more of a V, but you don't have to convince me. You got to convince Max. He's the one who wanted to put us to the test. But yeah,
I know. I'm tired of convincing people, man. It's been a long journey. I'll just show what I see, and then they can make the decision.
Maxwell House predicted Amazon touches 200 weekly. I'm gonna have to have a talk with Max.
Yeah, is that 2,500?
Yeah, we talked about it, right? A couple months ago, no? $25. What is it?
25, 30, 50.
25, 30. Technically, if it doesn't happen during hours yesterday, it never happened.
Actually, Max is online. I'm going to see if he'd like to join us for this spirited debate.
I think it's hard to find patterns that are very clear cut. I think what I look for is in inverse head and shoulders or whatever patterns is when kind of other factors also line up to it, not just one. Like if the pattern's there, but there's no volume in the pattern, right? So typically you'll see volume on head and shoulders at the left, right? Not the right shoulder. Right, because the thought process on the head and shoulders is that it's a kind of a
90 billion
consolidation distribution moment.
Is that real? 90 billion buyback?
What, Apple?
Yeah.
%5 dividend hike, 90 billion increase to stock buyback plan. Yes, it is.
Damn.
Tell me we're going to zero. Tell me.
Hey. We've talked about this at length, GP. I think Apple should take an entire quarter's revenue and buy back, right? Like,
yeah, Of course.
Every single quarter, every year, one whole quarter's revenue buyback. I think that should just be the standard. Anyway,
Makes sense.
Max is avoiding me. That's all right.
All right, so not a lot of questions we have today. So
No,
just
ain't
talking-
nobody going to give us any questions. Questions.
no worries.
Questions.
I gotta bounce right at 4. I gotta take Howie to
All right.
some
Yeah,
skate
you
lessons.
got, you got to
Stuff.
do what you got to do. Our friend Zach's not even jumping on today. I thought this would be the perfect time to throw out live, and it's a big flop. It's a big turd, just like Amazon earnings.
So
20
Apple right
yeah.
off the 50 week, I think. Today? I mean, not today, this week. Apple right off the 50 week.
You know,
SMA.
Apple does look good though. I'm with you, Nick, on how you were looking at Apple. I think Apple looks good. I wish Amazon looked good.
I think it will. I think if you can get Amazon anywhere between 2K and 2,500, I think long term you're talking about kind of a gift.
2K is what, 1 trillion again?
First quarterly loss since 2015.
2,200, let's just say 2,200 to 2,500, maybe.
Yeah, they're crushing cloud, and they refuse to give Amazon the valuation that they are warranting to Google and Microsoft.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, Google is the same thing. Like, I think Google's nowhere near, like, I think it's a monster in the making.
Yeah,
It
what I don't
already is,
understand
but
is like, so Microsoft is what, nearly a double market cap of Amazon at this point, right? Like, Apple deserves it. I think Apple deserves whatever it gets. They keep crushing it, and until
For real.
they misstep, I think they deserve the safety trade, the higher valuation, whatever you want to call it. They also
No doubt.
are increasing their dividend, and so they're doing right by their shareholders. So
Did you say they're doing a divvy hike too?
Yeah, 5%.
Up 5% from where it's at, not a 5%.
Yeah, which is nothing. It's like
Yeah,
a half
yeah,
a
yeah.
penny.
I mean, they could do a 5% divvy if they wanted to.
No, just from where it's at.
No, I know, but I'm just saying they could do a full 5% yield if they really wanted to.
They should just distribute all their cash to all the poor people in the world, and we'd be happy. Stock wouldn't be happy, but people would be happy. But they deserve, what I'm trying to say is they deserve the higher valuations, their safety trades, the hideouts, whatever it is, because they're still crushing it. What I don't understand is Amazon's essentially either they're not valuing any other business in Amazon, or they're discounting the cloud. What was their cloud growth last quarter? 40%? Isn't that insane? 40%.
Here's the quote of the day from our good friend Monkey Banana Genius. This market will gut every last short-term bull before it's over. That is the only thing I am confident of.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm not disagreeing with our friend Monkey. What's up, Ranveer? What you got, bruh? Give us a question. Ask us something. If not, we're going to keep this right at an hour. Nick's got to go anyway.
Yeah. Did we see what the cloud growth was for Amazon at all?
No. I'm going to look it up though. You know, I like to read the reports of the things that I own.
Yeah, it's always a good idea anyway. It reported a $3.8 billion loss. That will now be the headline all quarter.
If I had to put a prediction, if I was going to make a prediction, I'd say you could come back in July, August, and start paying attention.
Sell him, man, go away, baby.
I think what I'm looking for, at least in like individual names, the indexes, like I want to see like a descending wedge. I want to see I don't know, I want to just see something where I can
I
more or
want to
less
see
say
some
that
signs of life.
yeah.
Buy in May and stay, man. Buy in May and stay.
All right, Ranveer wants to know about PayPal. PayPal is what PayPal's been. I don't know how long ago I put this line on there, but we're below it still. So you know, under $93 or thereabouts.
PayPal seems like if a tree falls in the woods kind of comment, right? Like it's up 11%, but does anyone really care?
Well, no, I mean, not when it was a $300 stock, right? And now it's a $92 to $90 stock after hours. Similar to the way Nick was explaining, you know, previous breakouts as a support. Well, it didn't hold its support, and it's now serving as resistance, in my opinion, just looking at this chart. You know, if I really want to be long a fintech right now, I'm probably looking at a Visa or MasterCard, and I don't like them either.
Yeah.
But MasterCard to me probably looks the best of the bunch.
It does. I agree.
I haven't looked at AXP in a while, but I would probably go that way second because travel's coming back online, in my opinion.
Yeah. Question though, AXP, didn't they turn into a bank? They're not actually a credit card processor.
No, they're not. They are not a credit card.
Yeah.
But you have a card, but
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, of course.
But most of their business is through travel, and that's why I'm saying travel. If I'm in a fintech, it would probably be MasterCard or American Express.
Got like a 4-week tight going there on AXP.
Yep, I noticed that too, Nick.
So the one chart we can talk about is bonds. We don't talk about bonds very often.
No.
TLT.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So put this on a monthly basis. Right? Like you can draw the trend lines. I have drawn a line chart, but it's not a big deal. But it's literally at the bottom of this big channel from 2008 on a monthly basis. And it's like it's the base. It's like from the 2008 highs. It's testing that area. It's the one to watch here, in my opinion. If this holds, that should be really good for equities.
Yeah, I could see that.
Right. So like it had a false breakout at the top there. It could have a false breakdown underneath. So you could still have some more underneath. We have 1 day left in the month here. So I don't think it happens tomorrow. But this is just kind of what I'm watching here, because the bond markets usually are the smartest guys in the room. And if they're breaking down, then that's something like, so the bond market is already broken down, and the markets haven't like had the big breakdown. So if the bond market ends up holding here and reversing, I think that's a tailwind to equities.
Lightning round. Randy says your choice of energy for the next 6 months as an investment or a trade.
XOM or oil, USO.
I don't like the solars that much right now, Randy. Just that's me. And I'm still bullish oil right now. I haven't seen anything that has, you know, you're setting GP and me up for another barking match, but I just don't see anything outside of the oil patch right now that really gets me hot and bothered. And I shouldn't say hot and bothered because it doesn't really turn me on that much, but you're essentially, in my opinion, you're flagging up here at highs, which, GP's going to say, but declining volume. I just think that it still can go higher on the oil side.
No, I agree. My long-term view on oil from, I don't know, a couple of years ago was that we're going to take out 2008 highs. I'm still kind of in that camp. When you're like a long-term view and then also a short-term trader, I understand it can get confusing, is that just because things are going to go up doesn't mean they have to go up in a straight line. And that's exactly right. What oil did. And that's general, like when they go up in a straight line, they're going to pull back. And if they continue to go up in a straight line, the pullback is going to be even nastier, right?
Oil's to 140.
Oil,
Randy.
Yeah. So I think that's potentially something that comes later in the year for oil. Over the next 6 months, today XLE was really strong while tech was really strong. So that was a really weird divergence. Normally I was expecting to see rotation from energy to technology, and we kind of didn't see that. We saw both go up, which is good. It's good, right? It's more broad-based and stuff like that. But to me, energy broke the uptrend line from December, and today rejected the 20-day simple moving average on lower volume. So I personally, it filled the gap. It was definitely strong, but I'm personally short a small position into the next week on energy. I try to keep it small because it's been really strong, so it's hard to time this accurately, but waning momentum, all that stuff, I think over the next couple of months energy has got to come down. I'm not saying long term it's not going up. I'm saying in the next short period energy needs to breathe.
Yep. Eswar, do you guys see further downside in the path and shop? Yeah, in short, yes. My more bloviated response would be, just look at the chart. There's, coming back to what I was saying earlier about my bearishness, I don't see anything supporting these things right now. If you want to take a shot, if I were so willing to take a shot at shop, I would look sub 400, somewhere around this 380 spot. Path, like for me, there's just nothing there. I think the business is very interesting, but they're still unprofitable, right? And right now, things that aren't making money are getting the dog crap kicked out of them, 80% off the high. That doesn't mean they can't bounce. Doesn't mean they can't bounce. Doesn't mean that they can't be good for a trade. But I'm not smart enough or nimble enough right now to be able to trade in and out of stuff. So not my bag.
Yeah, there's no desire to buy shop here. It's shown no signs of strength at all. So and the first pop is not a sign of strength to me.
Nope.
It's the pop and what it does afterwards that's important.
Yep.
So pop could be just like, okay, so Facebook yesterday popped, right? Now it's a show me market, so it's got to show me the follow through. If this takes it takes like a 20 or even a $15 dump tomorrow.
We got 2 minutes. Let's talk about Facebook real quick, because I honest to God don't see what could make that stock go 18% today and after hours yesterday. The report it wasn't overwhelming. It wasn't a loss like Amazon took, but at the same time, like, geez, what's your two guys' feeling on why Facebook did what it did?
I mean, I think Facebook's a long-term winner, unfortunately, as much as I fucking hate it. Sorry if my language. I just think that it's going to take some time. They're doing the, just from what I hear and see, I think that with the whole rebranding and, you know, figuring out this whole meta thing, I think that, I don't know, as long as it holds kind of above 130, I think it looks good to me, 130, 150. But as far as yesterday goes, I'm not going to analyze the pop. I don't know enough.
My thought process is that they were going to they were going to overspend on the metaverse, right? They're going to spend like $100 billion on the metaverse or something like that. They announced a couple of quarters ago.
Yep.
And it's been weak ever since. And yesterday they brought they brought down that estimate, I think, to like 87 to 90. So they brought it down by what, 10-15% from the original forecast. So I think it's a bit of hope that Zuck pivots out of this metaverse crap, because I don't know how many people actually believe in it, or if they do, they don't want them to spend the crazy amount of money that they are. $100 billion is I think that was the number, don't quote me on it, but I think that's what, because the earnings were whatever, they weren't bad, they weren't great, it's a cheap stock compared to its peers. It's still growing minimally or nominally excuse me, but I think that big kind of like they reduced it by another 10%, this earnings report, I think that's what caused some relief to investors. But who knows, man? Stock prices do what they do, right?
Yeah.
Hey guys, I gotta bounce. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Thanks, GP. Appreciate you guys. And Max is showing up right as I'll let Max in real quick.
Yeah, I'm here for a little bit if you want, Bags. Nick, thanks for making time. Oh, he's out.
He is out.
Okay, so it's just us two now, live.
What's going on here? Why can't I let the homie in? I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, so like the whole Facebook stuff, I think it's just people were happy that they weren't going to spend a ridiculous amount of money.
Maximilian.
Hey.
Inverse head and shoulder man.
Yeah, man. I've said this before, but it's a fake chart pattern.
Aren't they all?
If you can show me one that works, then maybe I'll be proven wrong. But
you'll have to go back and see the 2 or 3 bastardized ones that we found that I said, well, I'm not going to fight you. But hey,
what
Max,
do you mean by what works, Max? That's a good question.
Well, okay, so the thesis is you find this pattern, the measured move is the length, plays out that way, and I just, sure, it sets up, maybe you see the pattern play out and it gets to the top and then it breaks and falls apart, but I've never seen one play out in a way that gives you the measured move to that target. I don't know, and you same with the head and shoulders, like you see these patterns, people love to find them. I never see them actually play out.
Oh, I can give you the BA is the best head and shoulders pattern on the planet. So if you look at Boeing, before the pandemic, before any of this stuff was happening, the Boeing chart on the weekly and the monthly was one of the most clear-cut head and shoulders patterns that I saw. Right? And I can share my screen. Actually, let me do that. Bags, you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay, let's see, share screen.
And maybe I should have, but I meant more on the indices. But yeah, with stocks you get more sample size, so I would imagine that there are some out there that do work right.
Can you see that, Max?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so like before this volume kicked in after the pandemic, right? if you had just looked at this, actually, if you had looked at this, this is a monthly view, so this is not as clear cut, but because this volume kind of dwarfs this volume, but this was a massive, massive spike in volume at the time in Boeing, right? So when you're looking at head and shoulders patterns, you typically on a head and shoulders pattern see massive volume on the left shoulder or the head. It's usually not the right shoulder, right? The right shoulder's the end of their distribution. They've already gotten out, so then it falls. So it falls on, not as much volume. It continues down the way. So if you were looking at this on a weekly, let me actually pull that up. I'm going to stop sharing. I shared the wrong screen. Hold on. Okay. Is that better? Can you see that now?
Yeah.
Okay. So like if I'm not counting this volume here, if you see this on a weekly pattern here, right? Like if I don't include this, that was a massive volume spike right at the head, essentially, right? And this is distribution all the way through, right? All the way through here, has one final spike above, distributes out, and then falls. Why did it fall? It happened to be the pandemic, but it was coming no matter what, right? Like I talked about this on StockTwits back in 2019 is like one of my top shorts going into the first 6 months of 2020, right? This was going to be a massive distribution. Happened to throw in a pandemic, so it became like this awesome trade, but this was as clear as a head and shoulders pattern as you could kind of imagine for me.
Honestly, it looks like Amazon right now.
Yeah, Amazon looks the exact opposite of the 2020 kind of consolidation breakout. But let's see, let's pull it up on the weekly, right?
You just don't have as much of a head.
Yeah, there isn't a head, right? And so that's the biggest thing for me is like you don't have the distribution. So it could just be sideways consolidation for the next leg and not any pattern at all, right? So that to me is like when you have these patterns show up, you need multiple confirmations, not just a single pattern, right? Like the volume's got to kick in. You got to see the MACD going bearish, even though it's it's a bullish move. RSI is like there's got to be like a bunch of other things that kind of come in to where it's going to play out. So, but like I think what we talked about was the cues for like a daily pattern. This I thought was a head and shoulders. So so it's the opposite on the inverse. It's usually on the head or the right shoulder where the volume shows up. All right. So this was March and February of last year. You kind of have this right here, and then you have this here. That's where the volume spiked, right, in the head. And then you have another shoulder here, pushed out, tried to break the all-time highs, couldn't do it, came back, retested the shoulder, the kind of the neckline, and then took off.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could call that an inverse head and shoulders. I'm not as clean though.
Yeah, it's never gonna be clean, man. And like it's
But these ones that people are showing, like the one that of the current market, right? That on at least on the SPY still looks like an inverse head and shoulders. But I can't see that working.
No, you're talking about the SPY or the Q?
Q's already broke the low. I don't think that's an inverse head and shoulders anymore.
No, but I also don't think it's the head and shoulders that people were talking about either, right? I think it's just.
I don't think it's either. Yeah, that's why, like, these patterns, man. I don't believe in chart patterns like this.
No, I'm more of a pivot guy, right? Like monthly, weekly pivots are really important. Dailies not as much, but those are the ones that I'd be looking for more than anything. And like the patterns are okay for me to kind of showcase what most people want to see, kind of understand, right? But there's a lot more that goes into where I see things versus it looks like a head and shoulder bottom. or top, whatever you want to call
All right, fellas, I gotta wrap it up.
it. Yeah, no
Max,
worries.
thanks for hopping in, stopping by. GP, as always. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thanks for hosting.
the handful of you who watched us on YouTube today.